All right, we want to welcome you all out to the Work It presentation today. Today's presentation is on Write It. So we're going to be focusing in on writing resumes, CVs, and cover letters. But before we get into that, we have just some kind of housekeeping things. I want to explain who I am and who our office is. We are the USC Dornsife Career Pathways Office. We are like the Central Career Center, only we work specifically with Dornsife students. And what do we work with Dornsife students about? We talk to Dornsife students about all things careers. So that is just career advising. We have a podcast. We have employers that are coming to campus. We have a mentorship program. We work with you via Handshake to find jobs and internships and resources on Handshake. Pretty much, Dornsife Career Pathways, we're here to help you with figuring out careers, graduate school. We have a pre-law section if you're interested in law school. We do it all. I highly, highly recommend going to our website, which is USC Dornsife Career Pathways. You can just Google that and you'll find it there. As well, something that I personally recommend, I'm going to have this on the screen now, and I will also have it on the screen at the end of our presentation, is follow us on Instagram. I know you guys have a ton of Instagram things going on, a ton of social media things. You may not be thinking, oh, I don't want another thing clogging up my Instagram feed, but I super recommend this because weekly, if not daily, we are posting new updates, employers coming to campus, events that are happening on campus. This is really the way that we kind of spread the news. We have newsletters as well that we send out every other week. But as well, this Instagram page is kind of the more dynamic page for getting a lot of the information, a lot of the events that are happening here on USC's campus and specifically in the Dornsife Career Pathways office. So I personally recommend you give us a follow, pay attention to it, see what happens, and kind of scroll through that whenever we post things. So today's kind of agenda, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about resume formatting, kind of how to format a resume, what it should look like, going through the writing the bullet points, kind of the meat and potatoes of a resume, and then tailoring your resume. As well, we're going to be briefly talking about what a cover letter is, why you should write it, and how to kind of write it, kind of the general overview. Again, like I was saying before we started this presentation is very, very general, very, very broad. The best resumes, the best cover letters are specific. But rather than getting into a specific kind of resume, I want to show you how to write a resume generally, and then set up an appointment. We're going to be talking about some other online resources as well for resume writing. Use those online resources, set up an appointment so that we can get specific with your resume. So this is going to be general. I do recommend you get specific and set up an appointment in the future. So, resume formatting. In the United States, there are two words that we use. Internationally, these mean the same thing, but in the United States, we use two different words called resume and CV. This is generally speaking. Resumes are used for employment. They highlight your work experience. They are typically 1 page in length. We want them to be as short, sweet, to the point as you can possibly keep them. So 1 page is what we like to kind of limit your resume to. After you have about 5 to 10 years of working experience, they can be longer than 1 page. But remember that whoever is reading your resume, they're probably reading, I don't know, 50, 100, 200, however many applicants' resumes they're looking at. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine reading a 50 to 100 page book. You want it to be as clear and concise as you can possibly make it. That's why we say keep them to 1 page in length. If you have 5 to 10 years of experience, they can be longer than 1 page if necessary. Now, what is a CV? A CV is used specifically for academic research. So if you're applying for research or graduate school, you're going to be using what is called a CV. This highlights your work, academic research, and other experiences. It's really your academic prowess. How good are you at academics and classes and can you do research? That's the main difference between resumes and CVs. Resume is more work experiences, CV is more academic experiences. How good of a student are you? And they can be multiple pages in length. There is no necessary page length limit. Again, you don't want to put everything on there. You want to keep them concise, easy to read, but they don't have to stay to one page. And that's the main difference between resumes and CVs. Internationally, they're used a little bit more interchangeably, but for United States purposes, that's the main differences. So here are two really, really good examples. All the time, students are asking me, can I get a template for resumes? I don't recommend using a template because you want to be able to change things easily. You don't want the formatting to get weird on you. So it's easier to just kind of go into a Google Doc, go into a Word doc, and kind of follow these outlines. There are two different ways. We'll go through each of these, but the main pieces you want to be paying attention to are these kind of general section headings. We want education somewhere on your resume. We want work experience somewhere on your resume. We want other kind of general headings, whether that is service, research, activities, skills. There are no hard and fast rules for what sections you need on your resume. That is based off of where you're applying to, what's important. So for kind of a biotech company, they're going to want to know your internships in biotech fields, but also they're going to want your research ability and the classes that you've taken. If you're doing, for example, a consulting firm, they're going to want to know your work experiences, of course, but they're also going to want to know your volunteer experiences and your leadership experiences. So those could be some alternate kind of headings that you use. Typically speaking, we really always want on a resume your educational background for college. We want to leave high school off of your resume as much as we possibly can. So we want to highlight your university education, whether that is undergraduate, graduate, and so forth. And then we want to highlight your work experience. That is the purpose of your resume, is to, in a page, show the employer, this is what I can bring to your company. This is what I've done in the past. These are the skills that I have, and this is how I can apply it to your company. So these are the two different kind of styles. On the right, we have the style where we are leading with education and then going to work experience and including relevant coursework. On the left, we are having a professional summary, so kind of a short summary, select skills, and then jumping immediately into professional work experience, and then education comes later on. You can use kind of either one of these methods based on where you are at in your career. Typically speaking, again, this is just very broad advice. For those of you who are still in your undergraduate degrees and probably the first year or two after you graduate with your bachelor's degree or undergraduate degree, whatever it might be, you're going to be using more the example on the right of education first, relevant coursework, work experience, and then other headings you might be using. The example on the left, that is an example of somebody who has a little bit more working experience, probably somebody with about 5 to 10 years of work experience, to kind of highlight less the education that we had in the past and more experiences that they've had more recently. So additional subcategories like we talked about, the main ones we want to talk about are education and work experiences. But after those two, some other ones you can do are accomplishments, awards, leadership, service, other things that are most applicable to the job you're applying to. That's going to be the highlight and the thing you're going to continually hear me talk about when it comes to resumes and cover letters, is you want to write your resume and your cover letter to the organization that you are trying to join. You want to tailor it. You want it to sound like how they speak, how they talk, how their mission statements go. So if for a specific career, they don't really care as much about your leadership experience, don't include your leadership experiences for that situation. Some companies really, really want to hear your leadership experiences because they want to put you in a managerial role or move you up more quickly. So pay attention to what the job qualifications on the posting are saying and adapt accordingly. But these are just some additional ideas other than the ones that we had already talked about. So, structuring tips. You are now writing your resume. Let's talk about structuring. Remember that bullet points are fragmented sentences, so they do not have period. This is a little bit of you can go either way. If you are putting periods at the end of your bullet points, put periods at the end of all of your bullet points. If you're not putting periods, because you don't have to, don't put them on any of them. Whatever you do, just be consistent. That's the number one thing that employers are also looking at are those kind of silly, nitpicky spelling, formatting. Are you being consistent with your periods or not periods? Because that's the easiest way to weed out those who aren't really serious about this job, is that attention to detail. Every single employer in the history of employers care about attention to detail. So if you don't have that attention to detail at the beginning on your resume, then you're not going to have it later on. So make sure that you proofread 3, 4, 5, 6 times your resume. Have somebody else read it. Have me come in and set up an appointment with myself in Dornsife Career Pathways, or go to the Central Career Center, or give it to your grandma or your roommate, whoever it is. Have it be proofread. Proofread, proofread, proofread. We also want to put all of your experiences in what is called reverse chronological order. That means your most recent experience first. This is a question that I get a lot of times of my most recent experience is not my most relevant experience. We still want to put your most recent experience first in most cases. 9 out of 10 times, most recent first. We want to make sure your action verbs are written in the proper tense. So if you are doing it to present, I don't care how long you've done it. If you started that job in 2010 and you're still doing it 14 years later, you put all of your bullet points in the present tense. If you are no longer doing that job, it ended 2 weeks ago, it is now in the past tense. You did all of those activities in the past. So make sure you have the proper tenses. And again, we want to keep your resume to a single page if possible. We say a single page, again, because we want it to be as easy to read, easy to understand what you did, why you're applying, and what you can bring of value to the company as possible. And so you don't want to add a ton of fluff. You want it to be easy to read, concise, and clear. So, rating this resume, there are a couple things wrong. First of all, the LinkedIn at the top, you don't want just kind of a random URL. You want an easy way to find your LinkedIn. The space under education, there's an extra space between education and University of Southern California. We want to tighten that up. Number one, it's going to save you space. Number two, it doesn't look consistent. Again, that attention to detail is something that a lot of employers care about. The graduation date, you don't necessarily need a start date. And the associate intern to present, we find my mouse, to present. We want to capitalize that. It sounds really technical and really nitpicky. But again, we want to limit the recruiters, the hiring manager, they want to limit how many resumes they're seeing. They want to make it as easy on themselves as possible. So you want to be following these. You want to make sure you're following attention to detail. You want to be very, very precise. Now, developing those really important things, the bullet points. That is what a resume is. We have section headings, of course, but the bullet points are the thing. So when you are creating a bullet point, the best bullet points possible, follow these 4 steps. You want to do, what were you doing? How did you do it? Why did you do it? And as much as you possibly can, results. So this is really good information for you right now when you're in an internship or a research experience or a part-time job or a club, whatever the thing it is you're doing in your life. Before that experience ends, You want to get quantifiable results. Ask your supervisors, what was the result of our actions? So you can put it on a resume in the future. So what did you do? How did you do it? Why did you do it? And as often as you possibly can, we want results. Because, again, I'm going to reiterate this. The purpose of your resume is to get you hired, get you an interview, actually, get you an interview. Your interview will then get you hired at a company. You are an investment for this company. They are reading your resume, they are listening to your interview, they are reading your cover letter to see, is this candidate worth the money we are about to invest in them by paying them a paycheck? And if you have results, you show them, yes, I am. You are showing them, this is what I did in this past position. This is how I did it. This is why I did it. You're showing them all of the different bits and pieces. And then the results kind of tie it all up of, based on my skills that you're trying to hire me to do, I will bring you results. So results are huge and super important, but often one of the most difficult pieces. So as much as possible, set yourself up for future success, get results as much as you can. So, an example. What did you do? Communicated with 20 private corporations. How did you do it? You cold called and emailed for the campaign. Why did you do it? Secure financial support for an annual scholarship drive, and the results, 42,000 donations. So all of those pieces smashed together would be communicated with 20 private corporations via cold calling and email campaign to secure financial support for the annual scholarship drive, which resulted in a donation of $42,000. This is a near perfect bullet point for a job in which you need to communicate, in which you are going to be reaching out to donors. So if that's the job you're applying for, this is a perfect bullet point, and this is the example of one. So what did you do? How did you do it? What were the actions you were taking? This is a great place to add in those technical skills that they're asking for in the job description. They want somebody who is familiar with SPSS. Okay, you utilized SPSS or MATLAB or whatever you utilized. How did you do it? What was the thing you did? Why did you do it? Kind of giving context to your actions. And then results, resulting in a donation of $42,000. That tells me as an employer that this person worked on a team, talked to individuals, and was able to bring in funds. That is a good investment for me as an employer. So another example of this. Publicized resume workshops, Instagram and Facebook, increased awareness of workshops, 25% growth in the number of participants from last year. So publicized resume workshops to students using Instagram and Facebook to increase awareness, resulting in a 25% growth in the participants from last year. I cut off that last piece, I apologize. So we want to show, what did you do? How did you do it? Why did you do it? And results, if any. So when you are going in and writing your bullet points, answer those questions. What did I do? How did I do it? Why did I do it? And then the results of my actions. If it doesn't have all of these pieces, the first three are the most important. Sometimes you don't have any results, and that's okay. We want results if we can get them. But the first three, what did I do? How did I do it? Why did I do it? If you don't have all three of those, your bullet point is not as strong as it possibly could be. Now, we're going to get into this, what, the action verb. So some good examples of action verbs, and you can find these on the resume writing guide. I put it in the chat. I will put it in the chat again. You can find it on the Dornsife Career Pathways website under the Work It series. Here is an example of some good action verbs. So this is what you're starting your bullet point with. So if you are communicating something, here are a bunch of action verbs. If you're researching something, these are different options. So this is what you're starting your bullet point with. Leadership. Let's go with leadership. I delegate responsibilities to a team of 5+ to make sure that weekly handouts and newsletters are distributed to the student body. Something to that effect. You want to show your leadership, whatever word you're using, you want to use these action verbs. This is not a comprehensive list of all of the action verbs that exist in the universe, but this is a good starting place. And again, you can find it on the Work It series on the Dornsife Career Pathways page under the resume writing guide. Now, you have put together the outline, you're thinking about bullet points. Now we need to tailor your resume. Before I get into tailoring your resume, I want to talk about what I call a master resume. So what I recommend you do is you kind of create the general structuring, formatting, and layout of your resume, and then you put on literally everything that you have done in your college career. Every club you were a part of, every research project you did, every volunteer organization you participated in, every internship, every class you took, like put everything on this resume. Spell it out as if you were sending it out. So writing those strong bullet points that we just talked about, but you're putting everything that you did. Then when you're applying to specific positions, you're going to take the relevant stuff from your master resume and just copy and paste it over into the new tailored resume. That way you're not having to reinvent your resume each time you're applying to a new position. You can take from the big long list, it's multiple pages, nobody's ever going to see it, and you're able to just kind of pull from those and adapt and add new things as needed, but you're not having to reinvent everything from scratch every single time. That's just a personal recommendation that I have, but you don't have to do it. So, tailoring your resume. What does tailoring mean? It means matching the job description, the job qualifications, what they're looking for as closely as you can on your resume. That's a question I get all the time of students ask me, John, how do I stand out on my resume? Do I need to format it differently? Do I need to say it in a creative way? And I tell them no. The way you stand out on your resume is by having your resume match as close as possible to what they're looking for in a candidate. You want to check all of their boxes because that's who they're going to want to hire. They want to hire the person who is going to do the job that they are hiring the person to do. So that's what I mean by tailoring, is matching your resume to what they're looking for. So, some general advice on tailoring your resume. Carefully read through and review the position description. Highlight key words, skills, attributes, and qualifications. Take an inventory of your skills and match your skills with what they're asking for. You may have to change some of the phrasing. If they want data interpretation and you've done a data collection, you want to phrase it in data interpretation. You want to use their phrasing. You want to research the company and position and know what is important to them. Do your research, match the position as close as you possibly can. So, an example, here's the prompt. We have Joe, a second year at USC, wants to apply for the following position. It is the Solil Entertainment Marketing Social Media Intern. The job description is as follows. We have many exciting projects running concurrently in our marketing function. Interns will assist primarily with social media and the promotion of our podcast, Solil Spotlight. This is a very creative role with tons of room to learn and hone skills. It will report to the director of marketing and branded projects and work with the graphic intern to create content in the voice and visual language of Solil. So that is the job description. That's who they're looking for. So when we're tailoring our resume, these are the things that we're going to want to highlight on our resume as well. Running projects concurrently. So talking about on the resume, a time in which you ran multiple projects, you juggled multiple time schedules, however you phrase that. Assist primarily with social media and promotion of our podcast. So a time when you promoted something on social media, your social media skills, a time you worked with a social media account, or if you ideally have a promotion of a podcast. Creative role, talking about your creativity, times in the past where you worked creatively. Working with a team to create content. So working on a team, creating content, Those are the things you're wanting to highlight. So when you're reading these job descriptions, you're pulling out as much as possible who is their ideal candidate? What are they looking for? What skills and attributes and things have I done that match what they're looking for in this candidate? That's what we're talking about when we say tailoring. Now, a great, fantastic resource for resume writing is a resource called VMock. If you go onto your Handshake account, go to Career Centers, and then go to the Resources tab, you're going to search for VMock, and it'll pull up. You can also search USC VMock. It'll pull up via Google search as well. VMock is software that reviews your resume, compares it to other resumes in your field, and gives you dynamic feedback on how you can improve. So you put in your resume, and it will spit out, okay, based on other resumes in this field, this is how good it is. It gives you a score from 0 to 100, 100 being a fantastic resume, a perfect resume. It will also give you recommendations on, okay, what changes do you need to make? So what I recommend is you write a resume, you put it through VMock, it will spit out, okay, these are some changes or some recommended changes you should make. Make as many of those changes that are appropriate, put it through VMock a second time, see what those changes come back, maybe put it through a third time. But after that second or third time through VMock, that's when you come in, set up an appointment with one of our career advisors here in Dornsife Career Pathways or over in the Career Center. And we can do a lot more specific tailoring rather than doing kind of the nitty gritty formatting or grammatical clarification. So VMock, 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 VMock. You want to use this resource. Again, how you find it is on Handshake. Go to the Career Center tab, then the Resources tab under Career Centers, and then search for VMock. It's a fantastic, fantastic resource. And we'll get to specific questions after the end of our recorded portion of this presentation. So some general frequently asked questions. I'm gonna pop through all of these answers. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so for resumes, how can I get my resume reviewed? Career Center, Career Pathways Advisor, VMock. Do you need an objective section? Not necessarily. If you have the room to do so, go ahead and add it. But I say always prioritize your work experiences, your club experiences, and your volunteer experiences. Should you include your high school experiences? No. As quickly as we possibly can, we want to leave those in the past. We don't want to include them on our resumes moving forward on a professional resume. What a high school experience tells a future employer, pretty much after your freshman year. Freshman year, it's the experiences you have in your life, so we use them. After freshman year, and especially after sophomore year, that having high school experiences shows the employer that you haven't really put yourself out there. You haven't done very much in your college career. That's not a good investment for them. Can you add your website or web portfolio? If it is professional, yes. And in some cases, depending on what industry you're going into, such as web design or UX, you want to do it. Include your address. I recommend not including your address. Why should I include relevant coursework? That is why you're at USC. So you can utilize and leverage your relevant coursework to show I have a theoretical understanding of the topic, even if I don't have a practical understanding. It is better than nothing. So include relevant coursework. I include about 4 or 5 courses that apply specifically to the position you're applying for. Do you need to add your GPA? No, you do not, unless if it is specifically asked for. If you have a high GPA, so about a 3.6 or above, doesn't hurt you to put it on. If you have below a 3.6, leave it off. That just shows your academic and hard working if you have a rather high GPA. But if it's not asked for, you do not have to put it on there. If it is asked for, put it on there. Talked about the difference between a CV and a resume. Can I use aesthetic formatting? I recommend you don't. Do I need to tailor my resume for every position I apply to? Yes, you do. Can I use ChatGPT to write my resume? I highly recommend you don't, because it is very, very clear to somebody who is trained in reading resumes if it is an actual human being who wrote it or if it's a robot. So if you are going to use ChatGPT or a different AI software, use it as a framework, use it as a tool, but don't have that be the final product. Now, we're going to briefly talk very quickly about cover letters. The purpose of a cover letter is to introduce yourself to an organization, entice your employer to read your resume, expand more on your relevant experiences, and describe why you're a good fit for the position. You can think of your cover letter as the deeper explanation into what you did. Resumes, you have bullet points that are truly not even full sentences. Your cover letter allows you to dive deeper into what you did, what your experiences are. So important in that way. So general layout of a cover letter. At the very, very top, you have the exact same title and heading, which is your name and contact information for that you had on your resume. You want to address it to a specific person. If you don't have the name of the person, you want to say, dear hiring manager, or to whom it may concern, just kind of keeping it general. Then, in the first paragraph, you're introducing yourself and you're saying, why them? Why are you spending the time to apply to this position in particular? So, introduction, why them? Then the next couple, 2-3 paragraphs are why you. So you're going through somewhat similar to your resume of in this experience, this job title that I had, I learned XYZ that applies to your position. And then the next one, next experience, XYZ of that position. That is one way to write a cover letter, is go experience what I learned. The other way, generally speaking, is to go, this is a skill that I have, and this is how I applied it in a few different scenarios. And then another paragraph is, this is another kind of experience that I have, and this is how I applied it in my kind of experiences. Then we conclude with why you two together. So kind of an example of this, I'm excited at the prospect of joining and contributing to the Rising Stars Foundation and its mission. I have the teaching experience, collaborative, and leadership skills to serve in the role of teacher's assistant. Moreover, I value RSF's commitment to service and teaching. I look forward to speaking with you about joining RSF team, and I'm available at blah, 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 blah. So you start with introducing yourself. This is who I am. This is why you should care about me. Why them? Then why you? Then why you two together? This is why I'm interested in you, reiterating I'm interested in you, and reiterating the skills that you are interested in having and the skills you do have. So why them? Why you two together is very, very broad advice on how to write a resume. Cover letter. So, frequently asked questions about cover letters. Do employers value cover letters? It varies. Some people don't read them. Some people really, really care about them. Generally speaking, though, if they have two very equally two equal candidates, one has a cover letter that they can read and gain more information about that applicant, and one does not have a cover letter, they're going to lean and probably go with the person with a cover letter. So I still recommend writing them if they are asked for, even if they're not asked for. I like it. Whom do I address my cover letter to if the position does not mention the hiring manager or recruiter? You want to do your best to find that person, but if not, you then address it to your hiring manager, to whom it may concern, recruiter. What type of personality should I convey in my resume? You want to research the company's tone. So if they are a very structured, very business, very um, set in a specific way, like a law firm, a bank, a big bank, like a very professional, business-like tone. That's what you want in your cover letter. If you're applying to somewhere that is a little bit more loosey-goosey, a little bit more fun, their tone is more fun and narrative and just kind of relaxed, that's how you want to write your cover letter. So match the company's tone. What past experiences should I highlight in my cover to stand out? Again, this is very similar to tailoring with a resume. You just kind of want to make those similar. However, whatever they're looking for, that's what you talk about in your cover letter. How long should your cover letter be? No longer than 1 page. You don't want to be telling your life story. You don't want to be giving too much details. That's a great time to do it in your interview. Your cover letter should be about a page to give a little bit more context to your resume, but leaving them wanting more so you get that in an interview. Do I have to write a new cover letter for every job I apply to? Yes. You can recycle some of the parts because you are still the same person. You still have the same experiences. You haven't done new things from job to job, but you want to make it as applicable and as close to the job description as you possibly can. So, in summary, follow the resume format, make it as easy as it possibly can be to read. That's what's going to make you stand out, is having bullet points, having content that matches who and what they're looking for in their candidate, and making it as easy as possible to read and understand what you did, how you did it, why you did it, and the results of your actions. Then writing a cover letter is very, very similar. You're wanting to match what they're looking for and give them what they want. Give the people what they want, and matching it in that way. So one more time, this is our Instagram. I highly, highly recommend following us on Instagram so that you get all of the updates, all of the events that are happening. We have career tips that are posted on there. It's just a really great resource for building your career. Again, I don't want to clutter your social media feeds, but this is a really good resource if you have the mental attention and ability to add that on there. I super, super recommend it. And that is the end of our presentation. I am going to end the recording here so that we can get to more specific questions of the participants that were here today. So I want to thank you all for being here. Give me 1 second to stop the recording, and we'll get to specific questions.